Okay, that was fun. I think we have it all worked out. Um, John Hogue is having job security. We don't know really what happened. It was nothing. It was nothing Matt Robinson did. He is purely as innocent as Matt Robinson can possibly be. So I don't know what you guys heard and what you didn't hear. So we're just going to start again if that's okay with everybody. So we're not going to end at 7. We'll end about 7:25. So what we did last week is we went over what each of the letters meant as far as the Myers-Briggs. And if you took the test, you would have been given 4 letters, and there's 16 different personality types, and it's based on those letters. Now, what we have to understand is I can be an E, and Matt can be an E, and Leah can be an E, and we may all be E's, but because there's different varying of that, we may or may not be alike. You know what I'm saying? Even among the ENFPs, some of us are off the scale and others are more borderline. So you got to remember, this is kind of generalities, and no one is a single ENFP. You're going to always have some ISTJ in you. So I just kind of want to go over, and what we were going to do tonight is go over how this affects your spirituality, but we're going to do that next week instead. Tonight, what I really want to do is do a brief description of the 16 types, so that if your kid or your spouse or your friend or your preacher or your children's director or your youth directors, if you want to know sometimes why they do what they do and you know their type, then that will help you understand them and maybe be able to communicate with them better. Leah's an ENFP, Matt's an ENFP. I don't know what Hogue is. Seppi, Sean is an ENFP. There are some people who claim to be one thing, but they're not, right, Gail? Gail wants to be a J, but we all know Gail's probably a P. And so we're just going to kind of go with this, and I just want to go over the letters one more time. Introvert, extrovert, if you remember, doesn't mean you're shy or super outgoing. I mean, chances are an I is going to be a little more reserved than an E, but it's not the introvert, extrovert that you think. Most preachers, believe it or not, are I's. The E preacher is a definite in the minority. Richard is an I, and so it's just kind of, and Barbara's an I. So it's not that. It's where you get your energy. If being in a large group drains you, then you're an I. If being in a large group energizes you, then you're probably an E. E's do tend to be more verbally expressive, and an E will generally, not always, generally work through their ideas out loud. E's work better in a team than they do individually. So that's your EI. And if you have any questions, just type them in. Maybe that's working, maybe it's not. Then you have your SN, and that's how you process information. S, concrete facts and detailed information. S uses all your senses. N's, they tend to focus on the big picture, and we tend to think impossibilities and abstract ideas. N's are more often idealist, where S's are more often realist. And S will want to do things in a ABC, like if they like oftentimes the very structured sermon, where the N's kind of want it a little more random. So that's the SN. I'm an EN, just so you know. And then the TF is how you make decisions. T's, thinkers, analyze the situation, and it's always about being rational. So if you're an ST, you are rational, right? And you're going to enjoy a step-by-step process. You're a process person. T's are real big into systems, and they can pick out the system's flaws in a heartbeat. You make your decisions by identifying principles. F's, however, look at things personally, and they rather empathize than analyze and focus more on the short term. And F's generally look at the positive in the situation and makes the decision based on other people. How's it going to affect other people? A T, especially a ST, will want to have a vote, and it's just is what it is. The vote is what it is. F, and especially NF, wants to always work to some sort of consensus. Consensus building is really pretty important. So that's the TFs. And then the JPs, the judgers and the perceivers. Judgers are very structured and rules, and if you have structure and rules, life is easier. Perceivers, options have to stay open. Much more flexible, spontaneous, willing to take things as they come. P's tend to procrastinate, not because they're lazy, but because they're making the decision just kind of, it freaks them out a little bit. They want to get as much information as possible, but they require flexibility. J's, precise plans and follow them to a T. J wants to be in control of their environment and of their schedule. The way I love to say it is, if you're a J, you have a to-do list, right? And you check things off. If you're a P, you have a to-do piece of paper, and when you finish something, you write it on and check it off because that makes you feel good. So those are the 4 letters. We do have a mishmash of people who took them. So the first group we're going to look at, they're called the adventurers. They are the ESTPs, ESFPs, ISTPs, and ISFPs. So if you're one of those, or you know one of those, you tend to you don't mind uncertainty, and you jump into a project head first, and you trust yourselves to adapt to whatever situation you may find yourself in. The way I like to think about it, if I'm in a pinch, if I'm in a crisis situation, I want to have an ESTP, an ESP, an ISTP, or ISFP around, because they are great under pressure like that. Now the thing about them is, though, they're not generally willing to impose their will or force people to a certain mold. They kind of want to take things as they come. So that's the overall for those. So we'll go with the ESTP. We're just going to go through these real quick. If you need something, if you make a comment, Matt will let me know. Just remember, there's like a 20-second delay of what you're hearing and what I'm saying, so it may take me a little while to get to it. The ESTP is known as a producer. They're daring, pragmatic, imaginative, perceptive, and candid. They are highly enthusiastic. If you know an ESTP, they are enthusiastic until they get stuck in a routine. Then their enthusiasm just dies. An ESTP is great at getting people to rally around a new idea or new project. However, they can't be expected to always lead that project to completion. So that's kind of your STPs. They have a flair for drama and for style. And the one thing they really have a hard time with is insincerity. So if you want to know what makes a ESTP click, what gets them excited, it's new ideas and new things. They never want to feel restricted, never want to feel confined. Are there any ESTPs out there? Is anyone even watching now, or did everyone go eat dinner? So that's the ESTP. Next week, we're going to talk about what the producer, the ESTP, does and how they best are discipled and their spiritual gifts. We're going to do that with all of these. ESFP is the performer. They're very original, they're flashy, they're practical, they're alert. Oftentimes, the ESFP is truly the life of the party. They are just fun, and they have all this energy, but what makes them a little different is they like exhausting their energy to help other people. It's not just this random energy. It's always geared at trying to help other people. If you're an ESFP, you may have a hard time getting through a church service, okay? I'm just saying. It's not because you don't care, it's that you just want to fellowship. You're the ones that are going to be late for church because you're in the hallway or the narthex or in the fellowship hall chatting and fellowshipping. It is all about that. You are able to make people feel loved and accepted. Any ESFPs out there? Do we have any ESFPs? Matt? Anybody? The ISTP is the artisan. Artisans are very confident and energetic, but they're also very laid back and flexible. The artisan wants to know how things work. If you were a kid and you would like to take apart household appliances to see what was inside them, you might be an ISTP. You're not interested in abstraction or figuring out what make people tick. You want the practical application, all right? You are one of the most adaptive and spontaneous of the personality types. You're all about action. You don't care about long-term planning because you don't really care about details and practical issues because you feel like you can adapt and prepare quickly, and sometimes that's a detriment. So if you're an ISTP, if you'll kind of let us know that would be great. We have an ENFJ, ISTJ, ESFP watching. Jackie Wolfert is an ESP. I'm assuming Will is an ISTJ, but that would be my guess. The ISFP is the artist. They're very sensitive, they're very curious, they're very imaginative, they're quiet and reserved. Artist enjoys being around other people, but you want to just, how do I say this? You want to observe the conversation and not contribute to the conversation. So if you're in a group and you have an ISFP with you, they're probably watching and listening to everything going on, and they may never give their input because for them, they just want to hear and they want to be sensitive to what's going on. But the amazing thing about ISFPs is they're very accurate in their perceptions of people. They're warm and they're sympathetic, and ISFPs will always give the benefit of doubt to people. Now here's what's interesting about ISFP. If you're an ISFP, you are sensitive and introverted, but you are a adventurous doer, right? You like to experiment and you like to take risk. And when you find something you're actually passionate about, you become obsessed and pursue it with a huge intensity. So that was a subgroup known as the adventurers, okay? Then comes the subgroup, the champions. These are your ENFPs, your ENFS, your INFJs, and your INFPs. The ENFP, which is me, and Matt, and Leah, and Sean Seppi, I remember those. The ENFP are spirited, popular, loving, curious, and attentive. Um, ENFP wants to get to know about others and understands what make them tick. I used to be accused of being willing to talk to a brick wall, but then I would find everything out about each brick that was in the wall. That's the ENFP. There's the ENFP, as you can imagine, if you pay attention to any of my sermons, are deep connection, right? For ENFP, it is all about connection and community. They are accepting people, and there's this emotional bond that's almost immediately grown with the ENFP. Now, here's the problem with ENFPs. We get real tired with things. I mean, ENFPs, if you want to drive them crazy, make them do the same task again and again and again and again. If they're in a routine or a rut, they go insane. And they tend to change careers more frequently than their peers. So that's kind of the ENFP, and that's me. And so I see Russ Bouillon but what is Russ? Russ, tell us what you are. The INFJ, I'm sorry. Let me go to the INFP. The INFP is the humanitarian. They're idealistic, they're flexible, they're giving, they're loyal, they're very romantic. People think that humanitarians' introverted nature makes it feel like they don't want to be around people. They love being around people. They just don't want to deal with small talk, right? They're not gonna chit chat. What they're going to prefer to do is whatever excites them passionately. They're going to be and discuss that with a handful of people, right? They're going to want to talk about spiritual growth and ethics and values, but not in a large group, in a small group. They don't want the surface. They want to get down into it. They're also nonconformists and they're independent thinkers. Most humanitarians, most INFPs are not judgmental towards others. They're very sensitive. They're very empathetic. They can become, however, extremely rigid if they feel like they're being steamrolled by others or if they feel like their values are being violated. So that's the INFP. We've done the ENFP. And so now let's do the INFJ. The INFJ is an interesting creature. The INFJ is very gifted, very encouraging, and very charitable. They love order in the world around them. And what an INFJ does so well is they commit themselves to finding the best systems to keep themselves organized. And they don't mind changing, right? If a better system, a better process comes along, they'll go with that. They're also very spontaneous, and they react to stimuli. And what can happen, though, is this INFJ, if there's INFJ out there, I'm sorry. Do I see any? I don't see any. God, we have a lot of ISFJs. If there's an INFJ out there, you are the least organized of all the J's, right? And I bet on the test that you took, if you're an INFJ, you might have come borderline with the J and the P, and you could probably go either way. You tend to trust your instincts, and what's great about that, you're generally right, which is very important. You have great insight into people and situations, but the problem is because you are eyes and you don't always communicate it very well, but you're warm and affectionate. Then you've got the ENFJ. They're known as the hero. Very forgiving, very reliable, very idealistic. the idealism, that's part of the ENF personality. What you see as an ENFJ, when you see a person or situation, you just see the potential of what that person can become. Do we have any ENFJs, Matt? No? You are aware of possibilities, and that's what motivates you. You are natural leaders, and you make great teachers because you are energized by helping others develop their strengths and grow in their understanding. Now, the difference between ENFJ and ENFP isn't just the last letter. ENFJs will tend to be more reserved than any of the other E's. ENFJs worry about coming on too strong when sharing their ideas and opinions. And you more often are focused on being supportive. So a lot of times you'll put your own needs aside in order to serve others. So that's our ENFJs. The third grouping are called the architects. And the architects are the INTJ, the INTP, the ENTJ, and the ENTP. INTJ is known as a scientist. This is the person who's open-minded, driven, self-reliant, and very confident. Your mind, and I saw some INTJs, your mind works more like a calculator, and I'm not saying you love chess, but you're like a master chess player. You're always thinking of the outcome. You see the world in this interlocking system, and you want to figure that system out. You're a perfectionist, and you always want to become better at what you do. You have this hunger to grow and to learn as much as you can. You're very into self-improvement. Now, you expect a whole lot from others, and sometimes that makes you impatient with others, but you only expect a lot from others because you expect a lot from yourself. So, I saw some INTJs. INTPs, you're the visionary. You're analytical, you're enthusiastic, you're truthful, but most of all, you're impartial. The visionary, the INTP, sees you may look at them and you may see someone who's a little eccentric and a little offbeat. Do we have INTPs, Matt? No. So that may be what they're on the outside, but inside their head, they're very innovative. They're constantly at work, and they love reason and analysis. And sometimes all that going on inside their head pulls them away from external concerns. An INTP, if you have a troubling problem, an INTP is great at helping find unique answers. They're not going to give you the usual answer, the run-of-the-mill things. INTPs are going to be very deliberate in their communication. They're generally people of few words. And they don't like making presumptions, right? And in fact, if you make a presumption in a meeting with them, they're going to find ways to disassemble that presumption because that's their gift, is looking at things differently. So that's the INTP. ENTPs, I think we have a few of those. They're the innovators. They're acute, unique, original, magnetic, enterprising. ENTP loves a challenge. They're confident in their ability to think creatively, and tradition means very little to them, right? They're going to look up a new strategy. It's going to be something new. And here's what I love about being around an ENTP. They just shoot from the hip, and they don't put too much stock into a lot of preparation. They want to jump into a new situation and kind of modify it on the go. They look for new ways. They don't worry about how things were. They want to make things new. If you're doing things the same way around ENTP, they're going to go crazy and they're going to lose interest. They're rule breakers, but not rule breakers for rebellion. They're rule breakers to try to find a new way to look at them. Russ Bullion's an ENTP. Ha! Way to go, Russ. Bob Cook, ENTP. So that's what you are. Then you have the ESTJ. ESTJ are organized, trustworthy, dedicated. If you have a system that's already going, right, give it to an ESTJ and it's going to run beautifully. They want facts. They want past experience to help them manage a product. ESTJs are great at setting goals, making decisions, and they love to keep others operating efficiently. In a church, an ESTJ will quickly fill a leadership vacuum. It's about ritual and routine over innovation and creativity, right? If you want to drive an ESTJ crazy, have no chain of command that's clearly laid out. They will lose their mind. ESTJs are great working under their leaders, and they're also great leaders. So ESTJ. ESFJs. ESFJs are, is that where we are? No, I'm just all confused. ESFJs are the providers. They're administrative, they're dutiful, they're stable, they're sensitive, and they're warm. When it comes to others, ESFJ is probably the most tuned in of all the personality types. You're highly sensitive to people's needs, and you're very aware of the feelings of others. What's so important to ESFJs is for people to be happy. And an ESFJ is a doer for other people. They believe it's their responsibility to meet other people's needs. Now, there's also ESFJ also have a very strong, non-changing value system. The world is black or white, right or wrong, and they often have a strong opinion about the best action for others, right? And can be judgmental of others who make different choices. But it's really always about harmony, okay? So that's the ESFJ. I have gotten a little out of control here. Let me see where I am. We should be on the, have we done the ISTJs? See, I'm an ENFP, and I'm way out of order. Where's my ISTJs? ISTJ, the exact opposite of me. Now, understand, this is not one of those things where opposites attract or don't attract. It is simply different. Jill says she's an ISTJ, and I think she borders on the INTJ and the ISTJ, but that's just my opinion. But when she takes a test, she's an ISTJ. She's honest, she's responsible, she's calm, she's effective, she's knowledgeable. So all my ISTJs out there, and there's a bunch, they are very common in the world. They appreciate tradition and predictability. They often make decisions based on past experiences and time-proven methods. ISTJs are not going to be the most innovative. They're going to be the most logical. They're going to be the most methodical. and they appreciate anything with a step-by-step process. You want order to your world, bring in an ISTJ. And they are an attention to details. Now, ISTJs are often very introverted, but they don't want isolation, right? So this thing that we're in right now is driving ISTJs crazy, because they want to be introverted, but they don't want to be alone. They're very happy to take part in systems and in structures that are ordered, and they're more comfortable taking charge of a task than getting to know strangers. So that's your ISTJ. Did we leave any out? Oh, Matt's leaving. So I think we got everybody. We didn't do the ENTP, did we? No, we did. I think we got all 16. If I left something out, someone text me and let me know I left one of the 16 out. This whole thing has been a little unnerving because we've been out of control all evening. So I think that's all 16. If I'm wrong, I'm going to check Facebook real quick and see if anybody says I've missed somebody. Matt had to go take a very important phone call and kind of has left me here, which is a little unnerving. Let's see. Did I leave anything out, anybody? If not, then next week, here's your homework. If you have not yet taken the test, please do, and let us know what you are. Please email me. But here's your big homework. I don't want you to Google it. I don't want you to look for it. I want you to come up on your own with what you think. If Jesus would have taken the Myers-Briggs, what would his personality temperament be? There are articles about it, but don't read those. Just see if you can come up with it on your own, and we'll kick off next week with that question. So with that, let's pray and let's go. Gracious God, we give you thanks for today, and in spite of all the technical problems, we thank you for the ability to even do this, to be on, and when we can't all be together, but to still be connected. So we ask that you watch over us, guide us, direct us. For to your Son's name we gather, in his holy name we pray. Amen.